What's up, gang? Coach Daris is here. I came on a little premature here. All right. Want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas. All right. And hopefully everyone is safe and sound. And so I want to remind you all to please go to streamyard.com/Facebook. So that way you can, when you do that, that way when you make a comment, okay, you make a comment, it comes up as your name and not just Facebook user. We are huge on being able to speak to you and being able to know your name. So please help us help you by doing that. All right. You're simply just going to go to streamyard.com/Facebook, and then you're going to just click on the blue button, and that's it. So when you make a comment, it comes up as your name versus saying Facebook user. Okay. All right. Let's rock and roll. So again, thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. Christmas Eve. And today, what I'm going to be doing, there's no guest today. We'll be bringing our guest back at the beginning of starting in the new year in January. I'm really excited about who we have so far. I won't spill the beans, but I have a very good friend of mine. I mean, we go way back to 2001. And so I'm excited. Have a really good another brother as well that's going to be joining. I'm super excited for who we have set up for January. But today, next week, is going to be yours truly, Coach Daris, by himself. Okay. And so what I'm going to be doing today, I titled this, that's a good question. And so what I'm going to be doing is putting together, I've compiled some of the top questions that I've had over the last couple of weeks, and hopefully I can put that into a format that you're going to find helpful. Typically, these are questions that I get quite a bit, some not so much, but I'll touch base on those things tonight. And so thank you all for tuning in. And again, let me have you go to streamyard.com/Facebook. And what that's going to do, you're going to go to the website, just click on the blue button there, and that will allow you for your name to show up in the comments versus just having a random Facebook user name. Okay, we want to give it a couple more minutes. Chime in, let me know where you are tuning in from. Give me your name, where you're from. You know what? Let's do this. So give me a 1. Let me know if you're watching this live or on replay, and then give me a 1 if you're looking to take your fitness to a new level. Build on your fitness, which you have been going on, or if you're going to be looking to get started. So give me a 2 if you are looking to get started in the new year to jumpstart your fitness journey, or a 1 if you've already been consistent and have been doing it, you're just looking to take it to a new level. Okay, so get a little engagement and interactions in here, and hopefully you all are doing well. Family is doing well. You guys have some good rejuvenating plans over the next couple of weeks as things start to slow down a little bit to kick the door in 2021. That would be pretty, getting a loud noise and a lot of shaking here, which I've never had before. So just was curious to see what that was. All right, gang. So again, Coach Daris here. I'm owner and founder of JCF Bootcamp, and I will be coming live to you answering your questions tonight. All right. And make sure you join us live next week as well at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. And so In the meantime, if I can have you head over to streamyard.com/Facebook to type in whatever questions that you may have, let me know where you are tuning in from. That would be amazing. All right. I'm going to give it another 40 seconds here. Let's say another minute, and we're going to hop right in. All right. So please comment if you're watching live or if the replay, and then let us know where you're tuning in from. All right. That way we can shout you out. Okay. And so we will be here every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Right. And super excited, as I said, super excited for the show we have tonight. These are things that we get all the time. So I know these questions are on your minds, and these are things, the coaching that can help you get some answers so you can continue to empower yourself to your better body and better life. All right. So as I said, I recognize it's Christmas Eve as well. So we're going to keep it a little bit shorter than usual, than what we have done in the past. And so let's hop right into it here. Okay. So this is my first question that I have. This is something that is common in what I get. Okay. And so it's, what are macros? This is something that is very common. It's something that we started doing several years ago. I would say probably in about 2013. Something that we rolled out to our members. We have had a different sort of nutrition sort of plans that we have implemented over the years. And so, what are macros? This is something that has gotten a lot of coverage and things over the year, and over the years, and it's become somewhat of a buzzword. And so, macros, you want to think of, it's short for macronutrients. Okay, so there's three, technically four, but there's proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. The fourth one technically is water. However, we're going to stick with the first three that I mentioned. Okay. And so with that being said, macros, when we think about proteins, fats, and carbs, so it's also gotten known to become like flexible dieting, flexible nutrition. So which means you can, when you think of a diet, you may think of like, I have to eliminate certain things. And so the cool thing with macros is that you're giving a certain amount of sort of values to hit. So you may have a certain amount of grams in fats, a certain amount of grams in fats, proteins, and carbs that you want to sort of hit those targets on a daily basis. The cool thing about that is that you can be able to integrate some of those foods that may be those desired foods, those treats that you may only look to having when you are, having those quote unquote treat meals. And so with this, you can incorporate those on a daily basis, ensuring that you're hitting those macros. Okay. So for example, I'm just throwing this out there. Someone may have 100 grams of protein to hit, let's say 50 grams of fats, and then let's say 120 grams of carbohydrates. So the idea is that you want to track this. You want to track your food. You want to measure your food to ensure that you are hitting those targets pretty accurately. What we've done and what we continue to do, if we can be anywhere between 10 grams below or above that target, it's going to be totally fine. Okay. So, but for most part, we want to be able to hit those targets within that 10 range, up or down. And so that's a cool way to be able to incorporate some of your treat meals, or treat foods, I should say, that you may leave for special occasions. So that way, it's something that can be sustainable for you. It's something that can be just create that longevity. So you feel like you're having the rigidity, right? Where you're having those guidelines and you're having a structure, but you also have some flexibility within that to allow you to create this lifestyle. And I would say this. So some of the things, so that's the cool thing and a huge pro to macros and tracking macros. One of the cons to macros is that you do have to measure and you have to weigh everything. You can't guesstimate with this one. You can't just rely on the different items that's in MyFitnessPal, because some of those may not be correct. That's one of the beautiful things of one of the downfalls of something like that so robust like MyFitnessPal is that a lot of it is user generated. So sometimes it can be off. So that's what macros are. So we have like the cool part, the pros, then the cons is that you have to track everything, you have to measure. And it's just about figuring out what's going to be that's going to be sufficient for you and what's going to work for you and your lifestyle. I would say as well, depending on your path and where you are within your journey, starting off with macros may not be the best thing. It's very it can be very effective for certain personality types where, right off the bat they can start there and be effective there. In my experience, we tend to start off with a template where that way you have the little bit more of the guardrails, a little bit more hand holding until we become proficient at that and being able to stabilize at that, that weight loss point. And then we get you to macros where we get more into that maintenance phase. We want to have a little bit greater longevity and as your goals start to change. So if you're looking to, lose weight first, and then we may put you on macros or prescribe macros for you as your goals start to change, where you're wanting to tone, build a little bit more lean muscle, and then we may put you recommend that. So that's the path that has worked with us. But those are your pros and cons of macronutrients. The big part too is that we don't want to just have a sole focus on just hitting those numbers. We want to think of, think of the quantity of those numbers. We want to think about the quality of the foods that we're having as well. Because truth be told, we don't eat macros, right? We eat food. And so we don't eat macros, we eat food. Okay. And so with that being said, thank you all. Sorry about that. Okay. So with that being said, we eat food. We don't just eat macros. So the quality of the food is going to be super important as well. So we don't want to just have the junk just to hit those numbers, because then we maybe give up some ground on how we feel versus, feeling great, looking great. And then that's going to put us in a better situation to keep going, because who doesn't want to always feel really good? Okay, gang? So just keep that in mind. So with that being said, the second question that I've gotten over the last couple of weeks is, I want to lose my stomach. What exercises should I do? Okay. And so with this is something I would probably say this is like in the top 3 questions, the idea around spot reducing. And it's mainly, especially like men or women, this is the number one spot that I find folks want to improve is their midsection. And so you've heard it time and time again. You can't spot reduce. You can spot tone, but not necessarily spot reduce. I can't program you 1,000 sit-ups and say, you do that, you're going to have a smaller stomach. Okay. So it doesn't work that way. We really want to take a holistic approach. We want to take a holistic approach. We want to focus on total body movements. We want to focus on general good principles and things that have been shown to be effective over time, which is going to be strength training, some really good nutrition, some non-exercise thermogenic caloric burn. So that means just being active in your everyday life, not just focusing on that 45 minutes to an hour when you're working out. Okay. So those are things that we want to focus on, and also making sure we're getting the appropriate cardio. And so I say appropriate because it's not a one size fits all based on what your goals may be. You want to make sure that you're on the right path, in a straight line path to get you from where you want to be to where you are to where you want to be. So with that being said, if you want to lose inches around your stomach, it's more than just doing crunches. Okay. We want to make sure that we are lifting weights. We want to make sure that we are following some sort of structured nutrition regimen that's going to, again, get you to help you achieve the goals that you want to do. You do want to do cardio. Sometimes steady state cardio is appropriate. More times, some sort of interval training, high intensity interval training will be appropriate, just based on where you are along this journey, what goals you have, what is your starting point, your medical history, your fitness capacity. So it's a lot of things that's going to go into play with those things. Okay. So I don't want to give a one size fits all. Those are all things that's going to that's going to go into developing any program and what's going to fit you and be right for you. Okay. So question number 3 that I've been getting, and I get this one a lot. This is something that's been one of those repeats that I constantly get, and it's what are good sources of protein. So what I want to do is kind of break this down into plant-based, and then someone that is not plant-based. And so over the last 3 weeks, we've had two people on, two guests on that are plant-based, and we've had a lot of information around that. So I won't, I will dive in just a little bit regarding those. So when we think of proteins, we want to think of on if you are not plant-based, you want to think about animal products. Okay, so you want to think about your lean meats. You want to think about eggs, lean meats, and dairy are going to be good sources for proteins. Okay, so some of the good ones, any lean chicken, lean turkey are going to be great. Even a pork tenderloin is going to be great. It's going to be have a less content, less fat content. There's going to be seafood. Any types of seafood are going to be great sources. Yogurts, eggs. Um, Also, you can supplement with like a protein powder. Okay, so and there's a slew of those. So if you have any questions around that, please just type it in and I'll get that to you. I want to make sure I'm staying. I don't want to deviate too much here. Okay, on the plant-based side, so you have tofu, you have seitan, you have tempeh, you have and I we have worked with some vegetarians, vegan. So sometimes some vegetarians may eat eggs, so I'm gonna throw that in there. Some may not. Some may eat dairy. Some may not. Some may eat fish. Some may not. So these can be other sources of that as well. You can look at any sort of plant-based protein powder as well, and you have protein bars that can be good sources of protein. Also, there's beans. Um, Mainly lentils, any sort of legume are going to be great. I get the question around chickpeas a lot. So just to get a good amount of protein, a good the right amount of protein, you're going to have to eat a ton of them. So and it just the carb intake is going to be way skewed. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that as a source of protein if fat loss is your goal. Okay, so what I mean by that, weight loss, fat loss is your goal, then I would probably steer away from using chickpeas as a source of protein. Okay. And so you also have things like edamame that can be a great source of protein as well when you're talking about a uh, plant-based diet. So question number 4, or what are good protein snacks? So this is, I'm a huge believer. I want to preface this by saying I'm a huge believer in that whole foods first, right? If we have a continuum, the more we can eat to the left side of that continuum, which are going to be whole foods, we want to do so. There's also a level of consistency in something that can be integrated in your life consistently in order to produce a result. So, and what I mean by that is that it's really great to say I'm going to eat 100% organic. I'm going to eat 100% like whole food diet. That's fine. Like that's all. That should be all of our sort of focus or drive. The reality is that life is crazy and life is busy, especially if you have kids, if you're a working professional, you travel, you commute. Life can be really crazy. So the point that I'm making, it does you no good if you're going to eat whole food and eat really well, quote unquote, eat really healthy for 1 week, and then the other 3 weeks of the month you're not able to do it. You're inconsistent. So the point that I'm making is that when I speak and when I'm coaching and when I'm giving these answers, I'm thinking from a very practicality perspective as well, not just a hypothetical what the best scenario is, but what's real and what you can do consistently. And so that's where this is coming from. So great protein shakes. I think about things, especially now that we're in a ton of Zoom meetings and doing a lot of things virtual. It's totally okay for me to pull out my protein shake and drink it and be consistent and not miss meals and not miss snacks versus if I pull out my Tupperware, right? And so what I'm saying is that something like a protein shake is going to be meeting proof, is going to be professional, it's going to work more times than not. So my go-to and what I recommend with many of our members is going to be having a protein shake at that snack time, whether it's plant-based or whether it's animal product. It's all good. You find what works for you. There's a plethora of them. If you have any questions, let me know. I've tested and tried over 2.5 dozen of them. So I have a tremendous amount of, I can give a lot of feedback on that. So that's what we think about. So there's also yogurt can be a great snack. Okay, you can have hard-boiled eggs. We can have tuna. We can have jerky. We can have edamame can be a great snack. And by the way, peanuts are not going to be, or nuts are not going to be a great source of protein. Okay, so just know, yes, does it contain protein? Yes, some of them have more than others. But the amount of fat that you're going to consume, again, is going to be so skewed in one direction to where if you're trying to get a certain amount of protein, it kind of becomes ineffective. Okay, so we overload on fats just to try to get to that, just to get to that protein number. So I would not recommend that as a protein snack. Is it great for a snack? Absolutely, totally is. So those are going to be good protein snacks. I personally like to do if I'm on a go, if I'm traveling or something like that. Jerky is something that's great for me. Just find one that's going to be the fewest amount of ingredients in it. That's going to have a very favorable macronutrient profile. That can always be a great source for you when it comes to a protein snack. Okay, gang. So moving on to this was a question I had. I did it the first show I think we did, or maybe the second show. I had family member, a little cousin of mine, who her mother has been diagnosed with diabetes, and so I want to preface this by saying, make sure you see your doctor, make sure you consult your doctor, and so before taking this coaching that I helped her with, and it's something that I will share here because this is something not the first time that I've had that question. And so, first of all, we want to think about how the certain foods, going back to macronutrients. Okay, we think about proteins, fats, and carbs. We want to think about what diabetes is, and there is an issue with insulin. Okay, and so with that being said, we have to think about foods that really impact AKA our blood sugar, and which regulates sort of our insulin response. And so I should say there's insulin diabetes is an insulin response sort of challenge. And so when you have carbohydrates, that's when your blood sugar is going to be your blood sugar is impacted the most by carbohydrates. There is some research that shows that protein can impact your blood sugar as well. So with that being said, what we want to think about is having some lean proteins, maybe lower on the lower end, and really being mindful of having carbohydrates. That's breads, and it doesn't matter if it's brown or white. That's rice, breads, brown or white. It doesn't matter. We want to reduce drastically to eliminate any grains. So oatmeals, grits. Being mindful of any sort of other grains like quinoa or even beans, potatoes. Like we want to pastas. Be mindful of that. And so what I would suggest is that we have a diet of some lean proteins, about a moderate amount of lean proteins, tons of vegetables, and a good moderate, depending on a good moderate to high level of healthy fats. We're looking at things like avocados, a good plethora of nuts, certain grass-fed butters, olive oils. So that way we're not focusing on just one level of fats, but we're getting a good mix of unsaturated, which consists of two types of unsaturated fats. We have polyunsaturated as well as monounsaturated, and saturated as well. Okay, so again, it's a lot of research showing that saturated fats does not impact cholesterol as much as we thought it did. So it just, obviously we don't want to overdo anything. Too much of anything is a bad thing, but we want to have a good balance of those. And obviously trans fat, we just want to wipe that out of our nutrition and diet altogether. Okay. So if you're someone that may be pre-diabetes or type 1 or type 2 diabetic. I hate saying diabetic, by the way. Okay, so that's why I'm struggling with this. I don't think we should. It's a condition that you may have. It's not who you are. So when you say things like I'm a diabetic, it's almost like you're taking that on. So that's a little philosophy mindset thing that I have. So that's why I struggle with that so much. But if you're someone that has the condition of diabetes, then we want to make sure we're having, like I said, some lean proteins. Your vegetables should take up about half of your plate. I would say your healthy fats maybe take up about a slither of the plate, and then we have some moderate proteins as well. So we really want to eliminate to um, um, drastically decrease the amount of carbohydrates that you're consuming, because those are the things that's going to really spike your blood sugar. So we have to think about things like the glycemic index. So anything that's higher up on that glycemic index, we want to be mindful of. One of the questions I got in along with this is fruit. What fruits? So, I hate to say it, but the sugary, very sweet ones are the ones that we probably want to eliminate as well, or drastically um, decrease the intake, the consumption of them. And so I would recommend things like berries, blue, black, raspberries are always going to be great. Some citrus is going to be great as well. And so sticking with more of those versus the ones that we love. I'm a huge lover of pineapple and kiwi, and those are the ones, mangoes, those are the ones we probably want to stay away from a little bit and focus more on those that have a greater fiber to sugar ratio versus more sugar to fiber. Okay. So question number 5 or 6, I'm sorry, that I have for you all is going to be, this is an old one. This is one that has come up a lot. And recently, honestly, I don't, but I'm just kind of shocked that I'm still getting this to, consider the movement that is now fitness, which is fitness is so cool right now. I love it. I love that being healthy and being fit and lifting weights, and especially women lifting weights, is like the cool thing to do. So that's something I can get behind. That's a trend I can get behind. And so with that being said, I am a little shocked that I'm still getting this question, just because I said like the movement and everything that's coming out. Your celebrity's favorite celebrity is lifting and things like that. Although there is one person that's still spreading this trash with lifting light weights and doing all of those things. So, which is, there's no science that supports that, by the way. Zero science that supports this methodology that's been sold to the stars. Okay. So one thing I like to hang my hat on and is that there's nothing that we do just for the sake of doing it. Everything has a foundation. Everything that's done is done for a reason. And so this is no different. So should I do cardio or lift lighter to tone up? The answer is no. We have to understand what toning up means. It's simply, in its layman's term, when you're toned, aka defined, aka sculpted, it's just a matter of your muscles pressing up against your skin and they become more visual. So what's happening is that you're losing body fat. So now there's no space between the skin and the muscle, in its layman's term. So in order for you to have that appearance, you have to put so much of a force on your muscles to create this change, this adaptation, so they can actually grow. Now, that doesn't mean grow where you're creating hypertrophy, right? That means mass. You're getting bulky. When you see a man looks like that, or you see a woman, let's go there first. When you see a woman looks like that, it's not because she's lifting 100 pounds. It's very intentional. Like working out and nutrition becomes 1A, 1B on her priority. Now, men have a tendency to put on muscle much quicker because of the testosterone that we have. Okay, so a man may not have to make that 1A, 1B, but when you see bodybuilders, they are like committed. This is their lifestyle. For many of them, this is as serious as their career. All right. If you're a recreational exerciser, that means you work out 1 hour out the day. You maybe do that 4 to 6 times a week, and boom, that's what you do. You don't really have that concern. Okay, you don't have that concern. Like I said, if working out, nutrition is not up there with family and career, you don't have that to worry about. All right, you're not going to be lifting that much volume. You're not going to be doing those things. And by the way, having good amounts of protein is not going to automatically give you traps. Okay, like the football neck, that doesn't happen either. So to go back to what we're saying, should I do cardio and lift lighter to tone up? The answer is no. Okay. Now, when we say things like lift heavy, that's going to be relative as well. You should be lifting challenging weight. Obviously, there should be some sort of progression. You shouldn't go into the gym and try to lift the gym your first time. That comes later on. As your capacity increases, your challenges, your stimulus, your intensity also has to increase. If not, you will regress or stay the same. Make sense? So we want to make sure, and when we talk about cardio, there's many ways to cardio. So I can give you my hierarchy of what I think when you're wanting to tone, what that should look like. So, and it's going to be a scale based on how much time can you allot. So it always starts there. We can give the perfect scenario. It means zero if you're not able to follow that perfect scenario. So we have to start with how many days can you commit to exercise or how many hours, right? So let's say on a minimum, you can do 3 days a week. So if I would recommend, if you can only do 3 days, 2 to 3 of those days should be strength training. 0 to 1 of those days should be some form of high intensity interval training. 3 days is all you need, as long as you can be consistent, as long as you're following the nutrition plan and you're having that accountability. That can be plenty of enough. Okay. Let's say you have 4 days that you can commit to exercise. I would say 3 of those days, let's commit to strength training. 1 to 2 of those days, I commit to HIIT training. So what that means, Coach Daris, what does HIIT training mean? So a lot of what you may have going on when we talk about like Tabata and different things like that, those are formed like working for 20 seconds, resting for 10, right? Working for 30 seconds, resting for 30 seconds, working for 20 seconds, resting for 40 seconds. Those are all ways to do high intensity interval training. I don't want to get into the science and get into all of the jargon. So those are ways that we can do that. So you can take, it's a twist where you're adding some resistance training and doing it in a circuit style. So you're also kind of getting the best of both worlds. So you're going to be able to maintain your muscle tissue. Doing the circuit or high intensity interval training, we're not really developing muscle at that time. We're maintaining it, right? And then we're also doing it in a fashion to where your heart rate is elevated and you're wanting to sustain that while you perform in the circuit. So you're going to get the best of both worlds. Let's say if you go out and do running, that's great. However, there can be some cons to it. So first, if someone come into my program and they want to lose 30 pounds, which means they have over 30 or 40 pounds on their frame that they probably shouldn't have, and you add that on to the amount of running, the amount of steps on the pavement that you're doing, like that becomes a lot of stress and on your joints, which can be, thank you, Mayday. That becomes very stressful and a lot of stress on your joints, which can eventually lead to breaking that system, AKA becoming injured. So we want to be mindful of just kind of running. Even though I love running because it's super accessible, no matter where you are in the world, you can go out your front door and run, but it's not always the best thing where you are right now. Okay. So I would say if you're someone that's just starting and you do have 30 pounds to lose, I would not recommend running. I would recommend, some strength training, some high intensity interval training, which is going to be lower impact. And so that way, then you can progress to that. All right. So having the right approach to it. So I'm not finished. I just want to go back to that. So that would be my thought process on that. So if you have 4 days, what we're going to do, we're going to lift 3 days. We're going to do high intensity interval training 1 to 2 days. Now you notice that we'll probably do 1 day where you're doing your HIIT training along with your strength training that same day. Let's say you have 5 days. Then I would say 3 days of strength training, 2 days of some HIIT training. Okay. If you have 6 days, then I would say, okay, 3 days of strength, 3 to 4 days of strength, 2 days, 1 to 2 days of HIIT, and then 1 day of like some slow cardio, a steady state cardio. That's where the running may come in, right? If someone is, just to kind of use that example, you come into the program and, you are 30, 40 pounds overweight, then maybe you can do some low impact. You can do the elliptical. You can do some walking. You can do biking. You can do maybe even row machine. So there's other ways you can still do cardio without the running and the pounding, putting that pounding on your joints, your ankles, knees, hips, lower backs, and eventually your neck as well, if you have a significant amount of weight to lose. Okay. So hopefully that answered your question around should you do cardio and lift lighter to tone up, I would say no, that is not the case. Okay, I haven't seen any science that supports that. I haven't seen any real world experience that supports that. And I'm just looking at my personal experience of 12 plus years at this point, working with over 3,200 people. I have not seen that. Okay, and so on to the next one. This is something that I have gotten about 2 weeks ago. Um, I do yoga. It's not a question so much, but I do yoga, but I'm not losing weight as expected. So I put a question mark there. It was a statement, but something I wanted to talk about and speak about different modalities of fitness. And a beautiful thing, I'll use where we were in Jersey City. Very honored and privileged to start my program in 2008. And we were one of the first sort of boutique sort of programs to hit the scene. We started outdoors, we moved indoors eventually, and we still did some things outdoors. But fast forward from 2008 to now, I mean, there's literally, when we talk about competition, and in a 1 mile radius, I think at one point there was 15 different options. And I'm talking about from from like HIIT training to CrossFit, boot camp, rowing, similar like a CrossFit-ish, but not necessarily CrossFit, strength training. So it's like, it's everything. And I loved it. And so everyone, and I think, and everyone can find their realm and find their thing and be consistent. And overall, the community becomes healthier. The community becomes healthier and happier. So that was really cool. And so I say that because, we we have transitioned our program to full-time online. So we no longer have that space in Jersey City. So, so with that being said, focusing on yoga alone, listen, yoga is great. And I think it's a great complement to any sort of strength training, strength training or high intensity program that you may be following. However, I have not seen it be effective to lose weight. It's just a matter, can it help you develop strength? Hell yes. But as far as losing weight, toning up per se, it's just not enough caloric expenditure to have that. Now, does that mean there's not exceptions to the rule? Of course. But it's not going to be the main thing for you to lose the weight that you want to have. So this is what I shared with the young lady that asked that as well. So if there's, all right. So I also wanted to touch base on like bar. And so I think when we bar, I've had this come up in the past as well. And so I think a lot of people get into bar, and this is one thing, one young lady I spoke to, she did bar, and she didn't lose the weight or achieve the results that she thought she would. And she mentioned about being lean and tone. And so one of the things I share with her is that, like, those things can be great, but we also have to recognize, like, bar is, I guess it seems to be more of like the dancers kind of methodology that they share. You attain the dancer body, but we have to understand, like, there's a weed out process with every dancer that you see on stage in a traditional way of dance. And so they have gone through auditions in this weed out process to get the very same body type up there, which is a long, lean, that's probably going to be pretty lean or thin her entire life, his or her entire life. And so we have to understand we all have different body types. So if you're expecting to go from A body to B body, doing that, and you're not naturally having that, and you don't naturally have that long, lean body, then it's going to be difficult for you to move into that. Okay. And so just be mindful of that. So next up, this is something that I got very recently in our coaching program, our nutrition coaching program, is the holiday season. So what we did was, with all of our nutrition coaching members, set up a plan, some sort of coaching call this week to just kind of talk through and walk through this process. Because again, this is something that comes up quite a bit around this time of year with the temptations. And now we are actually a little kind of more confined a bit. at home. And so this is something, and I want to share this with you all. And so concerned with the treats, it's the holiday. And so I'll share with I share with you all what I share with our members here, and then I'll just kind of speak from a different perspective. So the cool thing about the coaching that I gave was, listen, it's one time. Let's have a good game plan going in, and then let's make sure like we're not overstressing about that meal, that one meal of the day, right? And so what I said is that you have a choice to make this a treat day, or you have the choice to make this a treat meal. So that means those other meals are safeguarded with our nutrition plan and our nutrition strategy that we have. And then you kind of just pluck out that one meal, insert in the pies, whatever, the casserole, whatever it is, the sweet potatoes, whatever it is that you want to have, then you have that. Okay. And so maybe we go from, we maybe have fewer meals, but we want to look at this as a numbers game, right? So most of our members, our nutrition members, we coach them to have 5 meals a day. Okay, breakfast, lunch, dinner, 2 snacks. And so if we have to think about this. If we go off track the entire day, or let's say 4 out of the 5, or let's say 3 out of the 5, that's a 75% kind of 25% sort of success rate, right? But if I can do well in the morning, I can have my shake right before my meal, and then I can have maybe a shake at the end of the day. Then that's only one meal. So I'm 75% compliant on the holiday, when most, previous years or previous times, I was closer to that 30% mark. So that's a huge win. Okay. But back to what I was saying, you have a choice, and it's totally fine. There's no right or wrong. You decide. But we also have to be okay when you step on the scale the next day, or on Monday if it's up a little bit. And so we just have to operate from, this came up last week about, having that emotional intelligence around what's the output from my input, right? There's always a give and take, and there's not a right or wrong. It's just a matter of what are you willing to give up, or what are you willing to take in order to give, okay? And vice versa. So just keep that in mind. So what I share with them is that, listen, this is the game plan. Always start, and this is something you can utilize as well, is that, the first thing is that, like, what time of the day is going to be that treat? This is no matter if you're going out with friends, you're going out with your significant other, you're just going out by yourself. This is something that you can use. What time of day is going to be, that's the first question. What time of day is going to be that treat? Okay. This particular member was 3 p.m. Okay, cool. So let's do this. Let's make sure we move first thing in the morning, get some sort of energy expenditure, AKA burn calories. It can be jump rope. It can be running. It can be something that's going to be intentional on you burning calories. Movement for at least 30 minutes. Okay. And then right after that, we're going to have breakfast. Let's say we have breakfast at the latest 9:30. Okay. You are going to hit the road about 2 to get to your family by 3 o'clock. So let's have a protein shake anywhere between about an hour to 2 hours before that. Okay. So if we have that at 9, we leaving at 2. Let's have that around 12, 1 o'clock to have a protein shake. All right. Something light, very few carbs. We mainly want to just get the protein because we're probably more than likely going to have additional carbs and additional fats. So let's keep it very lean, breakfast and that snack. Very, very lean. Then you have your meal. You have whatever you want. You decide whether you want to overdo it or not. Obviously, there's always a price to pay either way. Okay. So what we set up for this member was, have what you like. If you want to have a slice of pie, that's fine. If you're going to have a drink, that's fine. Like, let's do it. And then you have to guarantee. So that's going to be dinner about 3 o'clock. Then I need you, typically when you have those larger holiday meals, we tend to eat fewer times throughout the day. So fewer frequencies. So if you're going to do that, then let's have a protein shake in the evening time once you get back home, 8, 9 o'clock, and that'll be that. Right. So we have 2 whole food meals. We have 2 shakes. All right, gang. So if you're having dinner a little bit later than that 3 o'clock time, then it's the same thing. Those first 3 meals should be on point, super lean, focusing on protein, because typically what we're going to I don't want to say overdo it, but we're going to typically have an excess amount of fats and carbohydrates. So we want those meals to be super lean throughout the day. Okay, so mainly focusing on maybe some proteins and vegetables, maybe a little bit of carbohydrates, maybe a little bit of fats, a little bit of carbs or a little bit of fats, not both. And so that way you have a little bit of space for the additional carbs or fats that you may consume. Okay. So, and again, even though it's the holidays, this was a holiday question. This can be for any sort of treat that you may be having if you're going out locally to have something to eat. Okay. So my next question that I have gotten was, actually, I did not write it down here. Let's see. So it had something. This was what I wanted to discuss. And one of the beautiful things. Oh, here we go. Why didn't I didn't type that up. Was it wasn't a question per se, but I just figured around, especially around this time of year, it's something that is probably pretty common. And that is being consistent or struggling with your workouts. Now, one of the really great things, if you don't have a community, I'm very blessed to have, I always say, the dopest people in New Jersey. I'm really blessed now that we have people outside of New Jersey that's in the program, but we really have the dopest people in New Jersey. Our community has been phenomenal, super supportive, and just so freaking giving. And so one of our members has stated she's been struggling to work out, to get to the workouts. And we had about 20 comments in there, just, just support. And it was really awesome to see her at the workout this morning. And so that's super powerful. So with that being said, few things, and I get this a lot. This is a conversation, consistency. And, I got a lot of questions from our previous show about being consistent, especially as a parent, as a working professional. It's tough and it can be tough, but there are some things I think can help the process. And I think the number one thing I would tell anyone is that stop waiting to be motivated to be consistent. Motivation is a fleeting bitch and it's going to come and go. And I've said this a lot lately. I'm not always motivated to be the best husband or be the best father, right? But you got to do what you got to do, right? And so you're not always motivated to go to work, but we rarely miss work days. And so if you can channel that and put that into your personal life and take care of you, you can go a long ways. Because what's happening is that there's this thing that you're getting when you go to work, even though you're not motivated to do it and show up, you get paid for it. So whatever mindset you have to play or whatever mind game you need to play, let's find a way to harness that so you can take care of you the same way you take care of your job, the employer you, the employee you as well, depending on, if you own your own business or not. And so I want to encourage you to not wait, always focus on motivation to take action. And that's a life lesson, not just a fitness lesson. Okay, gang? And so the second thing is put your goals somewhere that you can always remember. I tell people so many times, and they forget a lot of times, is that you got to remember why you got started. If you sat down with a coach and you had some form of intake process and you shared why you got started, and if this coach was a coach that was able to truly resonate and they went deeper and really forced you to peel the onion, then more than likely there was some uncomfortable some being uncomfortable took place. And so you have to remember why you got started, and remember, quitting don't effing help it. It does not help it. All right? It does not help. Whatever problem, whatever stress you're having, whatever you're going through, quitting does not help it. It makes it worse. So you have to understand, we have to operate from the right perspective when it comes to those things. So you have to remember, it's too many times we're trying to learn new things and be taught new things. Man, listen, sometimes you just need to be reminded. So put your goals and your why and your reasons for sitting down and joining the program in the first place. You need to be humble and remember why you got started in the first place. So whatever you have to do a screen you have to share, save it on your screen. You got to put it on your mirror. You need to put it in your car. You need to make sure you can see that thing every single day to remember why you got started, especially if you're someone that has really not embodied this thing. All right. I want to coach you up to make sure that you do that. Okay. So I know there's some folks that's going to be on here like when you've been exercising your whole life, you're going to continue to exercise your whole life. Okay. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I've been exercising more years than I've not been exercising. So it's not going anywhere. All right. And so we have to make sure, and if I can like give you something, that will be what I give you. Stop relying on motivation. It's a fleeting bitch. Stop trying to learn new things and remember why you got started in the first place. Okay? Boredom is a mindset. If you're bored, you need to get your mind right. It's a choice. Find that thing, push yourself a little bit more, have a talk with your coach to reset so you can be reminded. Okay? So the next thing I want to talk about is I talked about remember why you got started. So the tactical thing there is to like put your goals, put your reasons somewhere that can be seen every single day. And remind yourself that quitting does not make whatever you're going through better. It only makes it worse. Okay? The third thing is if you're not, for some reason, you're still not able to get there and you don't have that intrinsic motivation there, then we have to step out of ourselves and recognize who we may be impacting. What are the ramifications of me not being my best when my best is needed? Right? So if you have kids, that may be an opportunity for you to ramp it up a bit. If you have a career, that may be a way for you to ramp it up a bit. Right? If you're single and you want to be in a relationship, that may be a way for you to ramp it up a bit. Right? Having independence, that may be a way for you to ramp it up a bit. So think about if you're a caregiver in so many ways, no matter, whether you are a coach or a fitness business owner, or you are a parent, or you take care of aging parents, or maybe you're a nurse and you're a caregiver, no matter what, like find that thing. Think about maybe someone outside of yourself on if you're not at your best, how that may impact him or her or the village of people that you may be taking care of. Okay, gang? So the other piece in which, like I said, is very thankful is get you another dog in a fight. Get you another dog in a fight. So what I mean is that have some accountability. I can't speak enough on how accountability is the game changer, period. Because 100% of you know that you should be exercising consistently. You already know that. 100% of you know that you probably should be drinking less. You probably should be eating more broccoli, eating less chocolate, all of those things. 100% of you know that. But this is the question. How many of you are doing it consistently to change the trajectory of where you're going? And that's the biggest thing. Having that knowledge is not enough. And I recognize there's so much information everywhere you look. It's so confusing and all of that. And we have so much of nutrition knowledge and you already eat healthy and all of those things. Trust me, I understand that. That means nothing if you're not having the body that you love, right? You're not comfortable in your skin. You don't have the happiness, the joy. You don't have the strength. You don't have the independence. All of that means nothing if you have the knowledge. Okay, gang? So just remember that. All right. First thing, stop relying on motivation. It's fleeting. Number two, put your goals somewhere where they can be seen and you can be reminded because you don't always have to learn new things, right? Sometimes you just need to be reminded and execute at a greater level. All right. Number three is think about the folks that you are being impacted when you are not at your best. On the flip side of that, think about how you are impacting those around you when you are at your best, when you do have great energy, when you are feeling confident, when you are feeling strong, when you're just gratified because you took care of you first. Think about that, right? So many times I speak to, my working mothers, so many times it's like there's just levels of resentment, there's level of bitterness because you're not taking care of you and you have to do these things. And it's hard to give when your cup is empty. It's hard. So you have to fortify you first so you're able to give to those that you love and support. And you can do it without having this level of anxiety, without having this level of bitterness. Okay, so it's super important. Like, I recognize it's a lot to have 3 kids myself. And so we like went through that, and I've worked with dozens, if not hundreds of mothers. And I hear this time and time again. It's just something I've had conversations with my own wife. And so, listen, it's hard. It's really hard to give when you don't have much left, or if you have any left, when you don't have the energy, okay? When you don't feeling like you have the support, you don't have the strength, you don't have the know-how. Like, I get it. It's a lot. If you can pick up those pieces and just take care of you 3 times a week, okay, everyone around you will win, including yourself. All right, gang? For my dads as well. All right? And so that goes for you all as well. All right, gang? So that's what we have. If you feel like, and then number 4, I'm sorry, is get you another dog in a fight. Have some accountability. All right? I love when folks tell me, like, I have a friend and we went to the gym, and I get it. A lot of the times your friends don't have the skill set or the knowledge or the expertise to be able to meet you where you are when you don't know how to do something, right? Or when it gets uncomfortable or it gets inconvenient and that friend gets busy. So many times I heard, and then we just, then he stopped going and she stopped going, and then I fell off. All right. And so sometimes we got to go outside of our network when we want to go up. So but get you a dog in the fight, someone that's dependable. If you can be part of a community, a group of people where, like, what you're trying to achieve is already happening, that's going to be your best sort of bet. Okay, gang? So we have 57 minutes. That's all I have for you all. That's a good question with Coach Daris. All right. And so, gang, I want to wish each and every one of you a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, a Happy Kwanzaa. And so, cheers to you all. If there's any questions, I will stay on for another minute and a half. If there's no questions that comes in, as long as questions are coming, I will be here. All right. However, if there are no questions, I'll stay on for another minute and a half until a question comes. If not, gang, in the meantime, please, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. Okay, you can DM me. You can schedule some time here at jcfxextreme.as.me to schedule some time to talk, whatever challenges that you may have. No questions are silly. I like to say no one is a unicorn. We have seen it all. We have seen it all. And so I hope you guys got some value out of this. And tune in next week, next Thursday. We're going to be speaking about some goals. And I'm really excited to kick off 2021 with our new guests. Super excited. I'll be announcing them a little bit later on. But join us every Thursday evening, 8:30. Next Thursday is my youngest son's birthday, my Jonah. But we'll still be on. We'll still be on. It's going to be a little bit more condensed, so that way I can get back to my little guy. But every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, we will be here. All right, gang. I don't have any questions that has come in. I want to thank each and every one of you. Let me know if you tuned in live, if you saw the replay. And so you all have happy holidays. You all take care and enjoy. May this holiday season be plenty of rejuvenation for you, plenty of fortifying, so that way 2021 can come in and we can kick the door down entering that year, okay? No need to wait until 2021. You can get started right now. This present is a gift, okay? Do not wait. All right, gang, have a beautiful night. I will see you all soon.